What's up, family? Just another beautiful day, giving thanks and praise to whatever you may conceive him or her to be for me. Just loving it. Now, you can't make this shit up. I know that Virginia is known for racism. I know that Virginia is known for racism because if you coming through Virginia driving with all the state plates, they will always pull you over and give you a ticket. We know for that. But this here is ludicrous bullshit. This is really bullshit. This video here is really bullshit, folks. Check it out. Check it out, folks. These two white people should not get sentenced. They should get fucking hanged. They should get hanged or put in a cell the same way they do to these kids. Hang on, folks.
Hundreds of years. That is the sentence for two parents who adopted Black children and decided to enslave them. Put up the picture full mass. We've been bringing you this story since day one, providing the updates as they come. West Virginia judge admonishes a white couple, Donald Lance and Gina Whitefeather, who kept their adopted Black children as slaves, gives them the maximum sentence for doing so. Lance, 65, was sentenced Wednesday to a maximum of 160 years behind bars and will not be eligible for parole until he's 101 years old. The 63-year-old Whitefeather, who received a maximum of 215 years, will also have to live in prison, not eligible for parole until she's 112. If she makes, the couple will also be required to pay a restitution of $280,000 each. But at least they will have access to a working toilet, a luxury not afforded to their two oldest adopted children. They will also receive blankets, which they refuse to provide their oldest daughter and son, forced to spend their nights inside a cold, drafty barn. Now, if you remember in the initial reporting of the story, the law enforcement personnel who found the children locked inside of a barn, and it was locked from the outside, okay? They had no blanket, they had no toilet, and it was cold. The irony is, even with this sentence, they are going to live in conditions much better than the Black children they adopted. Put it up full mass. The judge, before issuing her sentence, listened to impact statements written by four of the children and read in court by prosecutors. The oldest girl, now 18, addressed her adopted mother directly, telling Whitefeather, quote, "I'll never understand how you can sleep at night. I want you to know that you are a monster," end quote. The couple were found guilty in late January of more than 31 counts, including child neglect and human trafficking, among other charges, following 12 days of shocking testimony about the horrors endured by their adopted kids. Whitefeather and Lance were arrested October 2023 in their home near Charleston, West Virginia, after a neighbor spotted him locking the couple's two oldest children into the barn. I'm going to take you back to a reminder of what happened, all right? So deputies responding to the neighbor's 911 call required a sledgehammer to break into the facility, where they found the 16-year-old girl and the 14-year-old child, boy, reeking of body odor with sores on their feet. They slept on a concrete floor, no bedding, and shared a bucket as a toilet. Inside the main house, a 9-year-old girl was found alone crying in a loft with no guardrail, according to prosecutors. The couple adopted the victims, 5 Black children, all siblings, while living in Minnesota. The white couple took the kids with them to Washington State in 2018 before settling in West Virginia May of 2023, when the children ranged in age from 5 to 16. The siblings proved to be quite lucrative for White Feather and Lance. A financial intelligence analyst who reviewed the couple's bank statements testified they pocketed $318,000 in child assistance from the state of Minnesota alone. The eldest sibling told jurors the children were made to stand in their rooms for hours, quote, to prevent us from falling asleep. They also were ordered to keep their hands on their heads, and if they didn't, White Feather would douse them with pepper spray, the teen testified. Prosecutors presented photos inside the home.
You can't make this shit up, folks.
18-year-old recalled an incident where Lance hit one of her brothers in the head with a PVC pipe. She testified how the children were cursed at, quote, all the time, especially by White Feather, who often used racial taunts and was found guilty on 4 counts of civil rights violations.
I would have hanged those motherfuckers. I would have hanged them.
On a diet of peanut butter sandwiches, often left over from a previous meal. They were not allowed to eat except during those scheduled feedings and drank only water after their meals. The 18-year-old testified to this. She had only a sleeping bag on the floor in the barn in which to sleep, while the teenage brother was given just a piece of cardboard to use as a pillow. The oldest child said she went about 2 months without taking a shower or brushing her teeth. They spent their days carrying supplies, gardening, digging holes for trees, clearing land, gathering water from a creek, and tending to animals on their farm. That's according to the eldest daughter. The siblings received absolutely no schooling at all. There's more. The daughter testified that when the family lived in Washington, the children were made to sleep in tents on a hill because White Feather told them, quote, we were dirty and that we stunk. Quote, I felt like I wasn't ever going to get out of that situation, she said after neighbors in West Virginia noticed them performing hard labor outdoors. The 18-year-old said they spent their final months with the couple locked inside. We were always locked up, she testified. The children are now living separately, with the oldest male child undergoing psychological counseling. Last month, one of the children filed a lawsuit against Lance and White Feather, alleging they experienced shocking and severe physical and emotional while under the couple's care. From day one, this was one of the most horrific stories we've covered at Indisputable. It's difficult for you to hear that. It's difficult for me to report it. It's much more difficult for them to experience it.
So true.
There were 3 opportunities prior where law enforcement got wind in other jurisdictions that something was going on with this family. And what the family would do is they would basically move
from
every
place to place.
time
Yeah.
someone got wind of their abuse or there was an accusation. Somebody may be coming later for a pending investigation. They would simply move. And when they would move, the previous jurisdiction would basically lose interest in following up in the investigation.
Because they're black.
How they were able to avoid authority.
That's all white kids. It'd be a whole different ballgame.
Responsibility for their crimes. This is a note to those who work in these agencies. Don't allow them to get away that easily. This could have been stopped a few years before it was, if the agencies decided to follow up outside of the state jurisdiction. But they did not. This story strikes me personally because I was a foster child myself and could not imagine going through such an extreme and
hardship,
evil scenario. Being a foster kid is hard enough. These individuals decided to make their foster children their slaves. Decided to not allow them to have access to education, made them perform hard labor every day, and they only ate the scraps left over from their tables. The striking irony is those who were enslaved in America actually got a better treatment than that. Sometimes they actually had a full meal. They were able to sleep in the quarters that.
All right, folks, you're going to watch the whole thing right here. You're going to watch the whole thing right there.
Those slave masters of that day wanted them to be rested enough to work.
You're going to watch the whole thing right here, folks.
All right. Jackson, thoughts here?
Yeah, I think one of the initial things that anybody would think about when they hear about a story like this is just the overall vetting and monitoring process in the foster and adoption system, how that works. I grew up with a variety of.
Okay, folks, you got a message. You understand where it's coming from? I would have hanged those motherfuckers. I would have hanged those motherfuckers in a public place because that's pure cruelty. But say again, that's their mentality. Like I said, I have a lot of family in me that's white. So let's not go towards them. Let's go towards the racist white people. So my white family, this won't go towards you. Let's go towards the racist white people because them motherfuckers are sick in the head, man. Sick in the head. Folks, that's my take on that. Peace out. Subscribe, share, like the video. More to here.